Okay, so we're going to multiply a fraction by another fraction. So when we have two fractions like this and we're multiplying, all we have to do is multiply straight across. And so here we have a negative 3 times a negative 1. Well, 3 times 1 is 3, and they're both negatives. And so two negatives make a positive when you're multiplying or dividing. So that would be positive 3. Then we have 5 times 4, which is 20. So my answer for this one is 3/20ths, or 3 over 20. Pretty straightforward. Again, if you have two fractions, you just multiply straight across. So 5 times 12 is 60. And since this is positive and that one's negative, a positive times a negative is a negative. For the bottom, okay, we have 12 times 7. And again, we just multiply straight across. We did 5 times negative 12, which is negative 60. And now we do 12 times 7 straight across. Okay, 12 times 7 is 84. And so now we have negative 60 over negative 60 over 84. And so all we have to do is, at this point, because we can't keep our answer like this, we're going to have to simplify. And so the number I know goes into both of those numbers is 2, and you can go from there. But if you know your multiplication facts, then you would know that, hey, 12 goes into both of these numbers. 12 goes into 60 5 times. And then, so it'd be negative 5. And then 12 goes into 84 7 times. So it'd be negative 5/7. Be negative 5/7. Okay, so what do we do if we have an integer, which would be 9, and we're multiplying by a fraction? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to make this integer a fraction, and to make any integer a fraction, we put it over 1. So we have 9 over 1 times 14 over 15. So same deal, we multiply straight across here, 9 times 14, and then we multiply straight across here, 1 times 15. So 9 times 14 is 126. And then 1 times 15 is 15. And so now I have to think, well, what number goes into both 126 and 15 if I was to simplify? And so just looking right at it, I think the number 3 goes into both 126 and 15. So it'd be 3 goes into 126 42 times. And then 3 goes into 15 5 times. So now I have 42 over 5. I don't believe I can simplify that any further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this improper fraction into a mixed number. So the way I do that is I put 42 in the box. It's being divided by 5. 5 is my divisor. I figure out, well, how many times does 5 go into 42? It goes 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. And bring down the 2. Again, if I wanted to make this a decimal, then I would just put decimal 0 and bring it down. But I want a fraction. So I'm going to put the remainder 2 over the divisor 5. So we end up with 8 2/5. So again, we put the 9 over 1, we multiply straight across. We got 126 over 15. We simplified by 3. We got 42 over 5. We then took this number, we divided it so we can get a mixed number. 5 goes into 42 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. We subtract it. We got 2. This number becomes my numerator, and then my divisor becomes my denominator. So it's 8 2/5. Okay, so now we have multiplying a mixed number by a fraction. So we have a mixed number here, and they want to multiply by a fraction. So the easiest way, in my opinion, for us to do this is to turn this mixed number back into an improper fraction. And so the way I do that is I multiply the denominator times the whole number, so 7 times 2, which is 14, and then I add the 1, so 15, and then I put it over 7. So this is equal to 15 over 7 multiplied times 7 over 10. And again, with multiplication, you do not need to have the same denominators. Okay, you just multiply straight across. Multiply straight across. Okay, so if we have 15 times 7, get 105. Then we have 7 times 10, which is 70. So I see right off that the number 5 goes into both of those. So we have 105 divided by the number 5, and then on the bottom we would have 70 divided by 5 as well. So 105 divided by 5 is 21. Okay, and then we have 70 divided by 5. 70 divided by 5 is 14. So now we have 21 over 14. We have an improper fraction. And so now we need to turn this improper fraction back into a mixed number. So I'm going to put 21 divided by 14. 14 goes into 21 one time. 1 times 14 is 14. Leave 7. And so this becomes my numerator. So it'll be 1 and 7/14. Now I have to look at this fraction here. Can I simplify? I can. 7 goes into 7 once. 7 goes into 14 twice. So it should be 1 1/2. So to backtrack, we went from this mixed number to an improper fraction. I did 7 times 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15. And then so we have 15 over it, that's 7. And then we multiply by 7 over 10 here, 7 over 10. So multiply straight across. 15 times 7 is 105. 7 times 10 is 70. I had this answer. I realized I could simplify to make my math a bit easier. So we simplify 105 divided by 5, and I got 21. And then 70 divided by 5, and I got 14. Okay. I could have simplified this further as well, but we put 14 into 21, and we ended up getting 1 7/14. And so we have, because our remainder was 7, that became my numerator, and my divisor is my denominator. So 1 7/14. I realized, hey, I can simplify by 7. Here, 7 divided by 7 is 1, and then 14 divided by 7 is 2. So we end up with 1 1/2. So that's multiplying fractions. We have multiplying a fraction by a fraction. We have multiplying an integer by a fraction, and then we have multiplying a mixed number by a fraction.